Well, here we are. Redneck's Pride Outdoors, Thoughts from the Office. Here it is, July 31st, 2023. It's not as hot as it's been. It's only in the 80s today. High humidity still, but not as hot. It's not in the 97, 98 with 80% humidity that we've had the last few weeks. Man, she was hot. Getting ready to go out and check some of our deer test sites. That we're using some of our New Jersey legal deer scents. You know, those synthetic stuff or the no real stuff type stuff that we got to use. Also, we got some deer stuff one. Won't be long here. We'll start applying deer stuff too quite a bit. So getting ready to head out there and notice there's a lot of posts, a lot of inquiries, a lot of folks talking about deer hunting. And that's good. I like to hear that. Young guys, okay? How many kids still? I wish more kids was getting out there. You know, 14, 15-year-old kids or 10-year-old kids, and they're out there. So dads, talk your kids into going out bow hunting. Getting into deer, that's a good way to do it. Also, while you're thinking about it, you know, talk those kids into going rabbit hunting and squirrel hunting and bird hunting, duck hunting. Oh, they'll love duck hunting. Get those kids into the outdoors. But everybody's getting focused on deer. You know, here in New Jersey, about the second week of September. I don't know the exact date. September-ish something. Our deer season opens up, and then everybody's getting ready for it now. Lot of new trappers or hunters. A lot of new hunters. I got trapping on my mind. Here, I'm just getting done my wildlife control, so I'm thinking trap. Now I gotta think deer scent. But anyway, a lot of new hunters getting out there. First year hunters. Watching the videos, reading articles, watching TV. A lot of posts. And they're asking how to become a better deer hunter and how to do this and how to do that. And, you know, everybody's talking. Got to do this and you got to do that and what have you. I had a young man not long ago, first year deer hunting, and he said, Jonesy, how do you get better at deer hunting? I said, do it. Do it. That's how you get better at it. Do it. You know, you can learn. Oh, well, you can learn a lot from the videos. You can learn a lot from the TVs. You can learn a lot from talking to guys. But you really, really, really learn it by doing it. Getting your knees dirty. Dirt time. One of the statements that I always hear are questions, well, what do I look for? And, you know, you're talking to a guy that's been trapping for well over 50 years, and I've been deer hunting for well over 48 plus years. All right. And when you're asked that question, it's, well, just look for deer. It's not complicated. But somebody just starting out, it is complicated. All right, you see a deer track, but what's that mean? They see deer in a field today. What does that mean in 3 weeks? You got to put it all together. How do you do that? How do you do that? You know, when you become experienced, or you got talked to a old boy that's been killing a lot of deer and what have you. Keep it simple, stupid, you know. Problem is, when you get as an old goat like I am, you forgot what you know. You don't think about what you know. You just know it. 2 plus 2 is what? 4. 4 plus 4 is what? 8. 8 plus 8 is what? 16. You don't think about it. You know it. It's you don't have to. You know, you get in the car, you hit the ignition, put it in drive, or press the clutch in, stick it in first, and go. You drive 100 miles and you didn't even think about how you drove it. You just did it. Because you learned it. You new deer hunters out there, your first year out there, maybe it's your second year, you're bow hunting, you went out and you're spending all this money and you're getting the top dollar and you're getting all this good stuff. Hey, listen, you know what? I got a bear bow that will kill any deer that any other bow can kill. Your arrows, get the best you can get. I'm always telling people, yeah, go ahead. By all means, get the best you can get. But you know what? If you can only afford Kmart arrows, then you get Kmart arrows. You learn to shoot. You learn to get out in the woods. But most important, it don't matter how much you can shoot. It doesn't matter how good of a shot you are. You could be 40 yards putting arrows, doop, 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 doop. But if you can't find a deer, don't matter. You got to get out and you got to look at that trail, and there's a ton of tracks on it. But you got to look at the tracks. If you want to hunt a buck and you want to kill a buck, then you got to find a trail that the buck is on. 9 times out of 10, that well-used, worn down to the dirt, mud, flooded out deer trail with 15 different size tracks on it ain't going to be your big buck. You want to look off to the side a little bit, 20, 30 yards, 10 yards, 5 yards, whatever. You want to look for that little trail that don't look like much. Here in another couple weeks, they'll start, the bucks will start marking things up a little bit. You know, they'll start playing with their antlers and what have you. You know, by September 1st, there'll still be a lot of deer in velvet, but you can start to see where they're starting to rub a little bit, especially those little deer. Get out there, and if you want to kill a buck, now, I used to be a buck hunter. That was what I was. That's what I used to be. Okay. Now I just want to kill a deer. Okay. Put some venison in the freezer. I don't mind saying that. Okay. But whatever your goal is, whatever your sight is, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. But to get out there, you got to get out there now. That means the chiggers. That means the skeeters. That means the stinking, ow, strawberry flies, some son of a guns. Man, they tear you up. Greenheads, horse flies, snakes. Snakes. Spider webs. Spider webs. I hate spiders. I can't stand spiders. I'm a macho guy. You know, I ain't scared of nothing. But you put a stinking spider in the web in front of my face right there, I'm going to cry. Squeal. If you stand there, you won't hear me scream, but inside of him, I don't like him. Don't like him. Get out there now. It's hot. People say, well, don't bait. Well, heck with that. If you want to bait, you go ahead and sink and bait. If you want to use dry attractant or minerals, you go ahead and use dry attractant or minerals. You don't cow down to nobody. If it's legal in your state, you use it. You can learn a lot off of them baits, though. You get out there and you start baiting. You don't set the bait. You set off the bait. Do like we used to do back before we was allowed to sit in an elevated stand over bait here in New Jersey. Baiting's always been allowed in New Jersey. You just couldn't sit in an elevated stand or in a man-made blind within 300 feet of a bait pile. So the old timers had taught me back in the 70s, 60s, 70s actually, I guess. They told me showed me how to bait. They showed me how to kill deer too off a bait. You didn't hunt the bait pile. You was 300 feet. You was 100 yards back off that bait pile. Why? You went to where they staged that before they came in. And you had 2 or 3 stand locations that you knew which wind direction they was coming in. You knew which direction they was going to come in tonight, so you would go down and you would get into that staging area down 100 yards away from it. And what that did was this. It actually took the pressure off the bait. Oh yeah, the deer kept on coming into it, but they didn't get the negative to it. I know, I lost some of you guys already as soon as I said that. And you know what? If you want to use a crossbow, you use a crossbow too. You do whatever you want. As long as it's legal, you shoot whatever you want. As long as it's legal. I had a young guy saying, how do you learn to see this stuff? Well, you get out there and you do it. But the biggest problem is, in order for you to become a good deer hunter, you got to become a good seer. And in order for you to become a good seer, you got to get out there and see it and put it into perspective. That means you got to bump a few deer. It means you got to walk up on a few deer and see their body behavior. You got to see the trails. You got to put a fishing line across the trail. Fishing line across the trail? What's that do? That's the old way, people. You wanted to find out when your deer was coming into that spot. You would go and just hang a fishing line across the trail. Go in at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever it was. Hang your fishing line. Come back that night at around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Look to see if the line's there or not. Come back next morning. If the line's going, then you know they're coming out at nocturnal or coming in. So then right before the season, what we would do is we would go out right at daybreak and we would put that fishing line up, and then we'd come back in at 10 o'clock and see if that fishing line was moved. If it wasn't moved, that's an afternoon spot. So then we would come in at 2 o'clock. We'd put that little fishing line across there. We'd come back in at dark before the season came in and see if the fishing line's moved. If the fishing line was moved, then it was an afternoon spot. Little stuff. That little stuff. Nowadays you can use a camera. There's enough cameras out in the woods though, and I use them. I use the cameras a lot. I love the cameras, video cameras especially. But crap, you got to watch yourself in the woods anymore. Used to be if you needed to go relieve yourself, you just did it. Now you got to check every stinking tree around before you do it. Daggone. You new hunters, you really want to learn what's going on out there? Take a trapping course. What did you say? Yep, take a trapping course. I have a scent talk that I give, and when I give it, I call it deer hunting with the trapper's mindset. Why do I take a trapper's course? Because when you take a trapper's course, then you start to try to trap, and some of you are going to get good at it, but you're going to take trapping and you're going to learn. In order to get good at trapping, you have got to see what's there. It's not the methods. Just like deer hunting, it's not the methods. Trapping is not the tools. Deer hunting's not the tools. Trapping is knowing the animal, where it's going to be, why it's going to be there, and then that allows you to use the tools and methods that's going to work in that spot. How can become a trapper make you a better deer hunter? I remember a couple years ago, well, it's been longer than that now, I was given the New Jersey State trapping course, and the New Jersey State trapping course is 2 full days, and it's hands-on. I mean, you're there. And at the end of that first day, we actually take the students and we give them a cable restraint, and we tell them, you got to go set this cable restraint, and we're going to try to catch an animal. So they'll catch, we'll set a cable restraint, cage traps, DP traps, all kinds of stuff. And you got to set that out and leave it out overnight, and then we're going to come back in the next morning. We're going to see if you caught anything or not. So I had this one old boy, younger guy, good outdoorsman. You could tell he's a good outdoorsman. You could tell he's a good deer hunter. And we came to the spot, and I'm standing there with him, and he's standing. And I said, where are you gonna set this thing at? And he goes, I'm gonna set it on that trail leading right out to that log that's going out into the middle of that water. And I said, well, why you want to set this little spot right here leading out to that log is me leading out to the middle of that water? He said, because the raccoon wants to go out on that log. And I said, okay, I'll agree with you on that. How often? And he looked at me. And he said, well, every time he wants to. And I said, yeah, which is how often? Is he going to put bait out there? No. Okay, so you just want to hang a snare because one raccoon, may walk out on that log where 25 others walk past it, right? He says, where would you set it? And I said, this trail right here. Now, he was leaning down on one knee. He had one knee on the ground. And I said, that trail right there. And he looked down at the ground, and he goes, what trail? I said, that raccoon trail that's right there. And he goes, I don't see no trail. And I said, well, it's right there. And he goes, what? How do you know? And I remember saying to him, lift your knee up. You see, what he didn't know is I saw the raccoon hair on the trail before he knelt down and put his knee down. And he put his knee down right on that raccoon hair. And he lifted it up and he looked at it and he goes, is that raccoon hair? And I said, yeah. And I remember him looking at me and saying, how did you see that? How did you know that? I said, well, I saw it. He goes, how'd you see it? I said, because trapping taught me where to look for what I'm looking for. This isn't some supernatural stuff, people. This is just plain old woodsmanship. And every experienced trapper you run into, they got it, man. They may not be able to tell you they got it, but when you talk to them and you listen to them and you watch their actions, you'll see they got it, man. You ask them why they chose that spot, they probably can't tell you because they forgot more than they remember. But they still know it. You want to become a better deer hunter? Joe Pio said it again today on a post. Joe Pio is one heck of a deer hunter. And he said, if you want to become a better deer hunter, learn to trap because it'll make you a better deer hunter. Why? Because you got to see everything out there. You want to become a dead or deer hunter? You got to see everything that's around there for your deer. You new guys, you want to pull the deer to you. Don't pull the deer to you. Go to the deer. Well, I'm going to use bait pile. Okay, go to the deer. I'm going to use scents. Okay, go to the deer. I'm going to use a pop-up blind. Good, go to the deer. Don't make the deer come to you. Go to the deer. Oh, I don't know how long it's going to. Usually on, it's probably a long video here. So I'll stop jawing, and in tradition, I'll just leave it here. Redneck's Pride Outdoors. I'll catch you next time.